Hi, everybody. I'm Candid Frank Stanisci. Welcome to Candid Frank Live. And welcome to the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure you rate, leave a comment. Both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also on all smart TVs. 2016 forward. Now joining me is Aaron William Freeland. Aaron, how you doing?
Good. How you doing, Frank?
Not that well. I was so I was so enjoying checking out your stories that you were sending, and I spent a little too much time reading them as opposed to just scanning them, right? And so here I sit. What a dum dum. Anyway, it is what it is. Okay. Why don't I just grab the script and I'll bring it over and we'll see if we can do it. So, how's your day going?
Oh, my day was going relatively well. I was working up until about 3 minutes before air, so that was a little hectic. But other than that, pretty good day, for a
Yeah,
Friday.
yeah, but you had the decency to be here on time,
Well, you
unlike some
can't all
other
be decent.
people. Unlike some other people. All right, let's go right to hockey, and we'll go to uh, the National Hockey League, and the Blackhawks reportedly are talking to the Raptors about having a conversation with one of their employees.
Yeah, so this is actually rather cool news. They're actually looking to hire. One of our front office folk to help them run their team. So that's rather interesting and an interesting development. It seems it's an interesting sort of cross pollination. Uh, I think also a part of it is that they may be looking for a diversity hire because the individual that they're looking at happens to be a woman. So that's an interesting little wrinkle right there for you.
You mean like a Biden appointment?
Not necessarily like a Biden appointment, but at the
Well,
same
I don't
time,
mean it's not black. No, that's not my point. They're targeting a group, and they have some fence mending to do.
they really do need the help in that regard. So I can understand that. I mean, she's got a really good mind for it. For all intents and purposes, and for all the reports coming out of the Raptors, she's top notch at her job. So I can see that translating to an organization that could potentially use the help, like the Blackhawks.
Yeah, and you know what? The truth is that you know uh, is to be seen. Is what I'm not going to guess. Hopefully, this is not a token hire. It looks like one. It walks like one. It talks like one. It even smells like one, but it might not be. I know that the person that they picked is more than qualified to be in the conversation. There's no question about that. For those of you that don't know who she is, if you remember when they were handing out the rings, she was the first female that was handed a ring. And yeah, so she is an integral part of the Raptors. And the Raptors are an organization that it's well put together. They do a marvelous job considering the challenges that they have. So she's going to be very qualified. Teresa Beach will be right. Sorry, will be very qualified in as far as going to an organization that has challenges to meet. She's been under a lot of pressure being with the Raptors. The only Canadian team in the NBA. So she'll probably do a great job. I don't doubt it for a second. And good luck to her. I hope they hire her. They're just talking to her right now, right?
Yeah, they're just reportedly looking at her for as a candidate for the position. But here's hoping. Yeah.
Yeah, the Leafs didn't win by the skin of their teeth, and neither did Matthews leave with a full set of teeth that he went into the game with.
No, that was rather unfortunate. Now he did score his 33rd goal, and Jack did make 45 saves. However, during the third period, Matthews did manage to unmoor the net with his face, which was rather unfortunate and also very painful. I can understand how it's happened. I've run into the net before, not with my face, but I've run into the net before because I've been focusing on someone on the other side of it. So I've basically looked right through the net and forgotten that it's there. So
I'll be the last person to criticize Matthews. I put a hat on and I hit any low obstruction if I put a hat on.
it's everything above this disappears. This is all magic territory.
Completely.
Yeah.
And and he and it's a testament to his concentration on back checking and forechecking, right? Because he was so intense on he's been like that all season. He's been very intense on being a puck hound, and he's done a great job of it. And he kind of paid this time. He got a great goal, by the way. That was a fantastic zone, defensive zone to offensive zone pass.
Yeah, it was a nice little area dump for him to catch it there off the boards in the first period to open the scoring as quickly as he did. I'm not used to seeing that. I'm not used to seeing the Leafs score in the first minute.
And not only that, that was a real pretty goal that didn't involve passing in the offensive zone. And in fact, another goal last night was that kind of goal, a 200-foot rush up the ice and into the net. It went rooftop. I mean, that's the kind of goal that players growing up dream of making.
The coast to coast rushes like that, especially with that kind of a finisher, definitely something you fantasize about on the driveway as a kid.
Yeah, the only way that goal would have been better if it was against Edmonton and Connor McDavid was the last guy he beat.
That would have been perfect.
It would have been great that way. He would have loved that a lot. And it'll be a highlight reel goal for sure.
Oh yeah.
Not because it's Toronto, but because it is that good a goal. So speaking of good and good goals, Caulfield is back in the scoring sheet. Had 2 goals last night. This is the kid in the playoffs last year. Looked like he would be a shoe-in for the best rookie this year. And it hasn't worked out that way, but here he goes. He's taken off now at the end of the season.
Yeah, he seemed to fall off the face of the earth at the start of the season and had a stint down with the Laval Rocket. But he had a goal with 8.7 seconds left in regulation and then got the OT winner. And I mean, it's about time. The Habs had lost 10 in a row and were in danger of actually winning the lottery pick for first overall. They probably still will at this point, but this has been a rough season. He's been at this point, he may turn into a bright light for them. I know that Paul Byron also scored, and Sam Montembeault has actually been decent in goal. He's been one of the nice surprises when their other goalies haven't been up to snuff. So
Yeah, and we know what's going on with their real goaltender, their number 1 goaltender. The Canadians add another Stanley Cup champion to their roster and management. His name is Vincent Lecavalier, happened to be a teammate of Saint Louis, and I'm wondering if they would have hired Yzerman if he's available.
Well, I'm wondering about that. I mean, the fact that Yzerman isn't bilingual could potentially be part of it, but the
they're
fact that
they're all coming to Montreal. It's the Tampa Bay Lightning. Sorry,
it's the Tampa Bay Club, man.
Absolutely.
I'm hoping the Beach Club works out for them.
Well, our Quebec brothers and sisters love it in Florida every year. They travel there. When I used to go there every year. Oh yeah. And it was always a different week. We'd see them at the end or at the beginning because Quebec had the different March break. I had 4 girls, and they love Disneyland, or in this case, Disney World, because it was in Florida. Austin Watson scores winner. Senators beat the Sabres 3-1. Again, we keep talking about the Senators playing well more than not.
Yeah, they've been a very delightful surprise. And the thing is, Buffalo is no longer that gimme 2 points that they used to be. It seems that they shed some dead weight. They got rid of individuals who didn't particularly seem to want to play there, and now they're doing a lot better. But Austin Watson got the tiebreaker in the third period, and they capped it off with a 3-1 win on Thursday. So that was absolutely fantastic. Forsberg's been playing really well in net for them. They were actually playing against their old goalie Anderson, so there's a little bit of reversal there.
Absolutely. So Scheifele's pulling the shift of, he was Where's Waldo for the longest time, and now there's Waldo in Winnipeg.
Yeah, he actually got his 5th career hat trick as the Jets down the Wild. He's actually on a 5-game goal streak right now, and I think he's crediting a little break that he took. Just didn't think about hockey for about a week, and just disappeared, and now he's back, and he got some sun. He played some golf, and all of a sudden, hey, he's better. The other good note to all of this in their 6-3 win is that Blake Wheeler got 4 assists, so he's picking up
another
his
guy
game as
that's
well.
been a little dry lately. A guy who hasn't been dry, been very good, is Josh Morrissey, and he led the team to a 5-3 victory over the Seattle Kraken, who have been visiting various Canadian teams to different degrees of success.
Yeah, and this is really neat actually, because that means that it's a couple games in a row that Winnipeg's managed to put together without a loss in between them. So that's always a heartening thing for your club.
The Calgary Flames, Lindholm extends his goal streak to 6 games in a win over Anaheim.
So, and again, the Ducks are doing another tour. Lindholm was actually bailed out by his teammates. He got a double minor in the first 5 minutes of the game, but he actually scored 2 goals and added an assist on Wednesday to help the Flames to a 6-2 win. And that's actually their 8th straight win now, which is, I think, the longest active streak in the NHL. So good for them. Glad to see they're up on the upswing. I know that we say this when we talk about the Flames every single time, but they're playing like a playoff team now, and you know who to credit for that.
Yeah, and Flames Adam Ruzicka paid a fine. He didn't get suspended. I guess the NHL. We're going to go on that wave now of fines as opposed to suspensions. Is that what's going to happen? They did this last year too, Aaron. And I'm pointing it out because I noticed it last year. As they got closer to the playoffs, suspensions were harder to find. It's almost as if, just maybe as if, the National Hockey League's trying to promote the physical play for the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Well, as you and I are well familiar, after a certain point, they don't bother to call penalties anymore. So it does become all about the physical stuff. So, Brad Marchand got his Lifetime Achievement Award suspension for his antics, and that signals basically the end of the suspension period for the NHL. We're now into the fine period before we get to the no penalties at all period starting in late April, early May.
We're in the build-up, the dislike mode.
Yeah. We're
the
on
Oilers,
the Mickey Mouse League again.
Yeah, the Oilers wrote the Ducks 7. Hey, listen, if I'm wrong, folks, you'll find out in the future. We'll see if the level of suspensions based on acts, not if the players don't do anything that deserves suspensions. I'm not saying they should get them. I'm just saying they're back to fines. Oilers rout the Ducks 7-3 on Draisaitl's pair. They remain perfect under new coach Woodcroft.
So this is one of those bumps that teams tend to get whenever they change personnel, whether it's a GM or a coach or the equipment manager. Draisaitl had 2. Evander Kane, Derek Ryan, Jesse Puljujarvi, Warren Foegele, and Zach Hyman also scored for the Oilers, who are now 27-18-3. They've actually gone 9-1-2 in their last 12 outings. The interesting thing to note is the last 2 games that they lost caused Tippett to be fired. So, before that, they'd been doing decently. So as it currently stands, Woodcroft is looking like a rose here. He's setting himself up as a candidate for the Jack Adams now that the Oilers have apparently seemed to turn everything around, and they're actually sitting in a playoff spot.
New coaches, teams play much better as soon as they come in, and then we see where they actually end up. There's a Canadian flag back there that's been waving since last night when the Edmonton Oilers have joined the Calgary Flames and the Toronto Maple Leafs in a playoff position, Aaron.
We just need one more team to get there. And I'm not
Ottawa
counting on Ottawa or Montreal. I'm counting on Vancouver. I'd rather put my eggs in that basket. Thank you very much.
I think at least Vancouver has a basket. Mind you,
I'd rather have the West teams death match it out before coming to us. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Winnipeg though is in there too. They're close. Winnipeg has a shot. They have a shot. They just need to string together a few wins. And that's the kind of situation for that kind of team that we all know is a better team than they played this year. We know that the players that usually play really well for them haven't. You pointed out the goaltending's been inconsistent. The whole thing about Winnipeg is if they sneak into the playoffs, I'm not sure I want to play them, because if their goaltender gets hot, if Hellebuck gets hot,
which he'll be worth every. Yeah, if he decides to get hot, all of a sudden that's fantastic. It'd be great.
And I wish it was 2-2, like you said. I know the inference was 2 in the East, 2 in the West, but it's okay with me that 3 Western teams make it. Unfortunately, 2 of them are in the same division, and the odds of them meeting could be high.
Yeah.
Which means bye to one of them.
Yeah.
It is what it is. All right. Canadian Hockey League Junior, WIHF World Juniors rescheduled for August 2022 in Alberta, and they're starting over.
Yeah, they're going back to zero. They're planning to slot it in behind the Hlinka Gretzky Cup in mid-August. At least that's the word coming from Luc Tardif yesterday. Basically, it's going to be a hockey festival. Apparently, all of the teams are really keyed up to do it. So August 8th to 19 is the target date, according to TSN's Darren Drieger. We'll have to see how that works out. I'd love to be able to travel there and get to see it, but we'll have to see how everything else goes vacation-wise.
Aaron, also the women's championship is going to be scheduled in and around the same time.
Yeah, but there's no word on whether it's going to be East Coast or West Coast at this point.
Not really. I remember them saying when it was going to happen, but I don't remember if they said where.
Exactly.
I know that much. So let's keep in mind the ladies. And oh yeah, maybe we should mention while we're still on hockey, we won gold in hockey.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, actually, I shouldn't really even preface that with unfortunately. We won gold, which is awesome. I'm very proud of the Canadian women. I was going to say, unfortunately, it wasn't the men, but at the same time, that kind of diminishes the accomplishments of the women.
Send your cards and letters over to Aaron.
No,
this one isn't mine. This one belongs to him.
That's aaron.freeland at spanglish.com.
That was brilliant. Use the company email. Yeah, that's safe. Yeah, that's safe. You'll never check that email out. They did that, and then we have the situation with. I'm sorry, I'm throwing this one in because, we have the Russian skater who's 15, three different substances in her body. Only one was illegal. She takes part. Russian skater gets it's a disaster. Why the Russians are even involved in the Olympics? I mean, can they not now? Can't the federation, clean up its act for a season, a year, an Olympics?
You'd like to hope so. The problem that they have here is there's a well-established talent pipeline. And that starts at 12 or 13 years old with regional competitions and then works up to the state and then eventually the country levels
but
in
it's
Russia.
The drugs, Aaron.
I know.
And drugs. 15 years old and they're putting stuff in her. And I'm making sure that people understand this. I hold absolutely nothing against the 15-year-old young girl. She's in women's skating. She's a girl. She's a child. Where are the adults in the room? That's what irritates
that makes
me.
You wonder. And it's the mentality that goes into this as well. Who out there is actively encouraging a 15-year-old developing teenager to dope like this? Like that, it makes no sense to me.
It's hard enough for them to physically do what they do with their. Look, girls develop faster than boys. I think that's true. I've been told. I'll just use that here. So, maybe a 15-year-old girl is further along than a 16-year-old boy, maybe even a 17-year-old boy. But I still think she's only 15. I still think that there are adults in the room who should understand. And if I don't understand how the IOC didn't right away when that happened, that they just didn't say, that's it. Close the door, pack your stuff, get the heck out of here. I've had enough. But unfortunately, Aaron, we got another story coming. We as a society internationally don't have the cojones to deal with countries that do things that we don't approve of. It's like we enter into these events with our eyes closed, our noses plugged, and we say, okay, let's do it. And you'll hear about the next story. I guess we live in a time where, those kind of countries have more power against democratic countries or countries with at least a different kind of conscience. Anyway, I'm not here talking about sainthood for every country in the planet. But my goodness, a 15-year-old girl can't handle it. And then her Russian teammate got upset with her. They're just children. And she destroyed herself on the ice. And then My goodness, what the coaches did to her when she was leaving. She was berated and treated, my goodness, just a child, and this is what the child has to go through. It's just crazy. Okay, the Canadian men win bronze. The only good news is for Canadians is they denied the U.S. a second straight Olympic medal.
Yeah. So congratulations to Brad Gushu on securing bronze and denying the United States a second chance to actually medal at these Olympics in that particular sport, especially after they won gold in the previous Olympics. Good on him. Good showing by Canada. At least showing a partial recovery for the curling sides at any rate. Yeah, well, we'll have to see how the rest of the field plans out for the women.
Canadian speed skater earns a silver.
So Laurent Dubreuil in the 1,000 meters actually managed to earn himself a silver. He missed the medal. He missed the gold in his top race, but that's okay. After he finished, he held up two fingers for his young daughter Rose back home. That was when he stepped onto the Olympic podium this morning. So it wasn't actually. It's sort of a backup race for him. That wasn't actually his specialty.
What a segue! What a segue! Now I got to talk about a Russian who raised two fingers.
That was hilarious. Not gonna lie, I like to see stuff like this every once in a while because it's hilarious. Yeah.
Why do you find it funny that such a rude gesture is shared on the Olympic podium?
Because it's exactly what Americans would do in the same position. Only they do a better job of doing it internally.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I guess the only thing that was missing. Never mind. Swiss ski cross racer sounds off after controversial review denies her Beijing podium.
Yeah, so this was a bit unfortunate. Basically, Fanny Smith was penalized on Thursday during the women's ski cross final. She and the German Daniela Meyer collided. Now, what happened was Smith lost her balance when she landed from a jump and accidentally nudged Meyer, and the judges decided that she interfered enough that she unfortunately didn't deserve her place. So they stripped her of the medal.
Oh, that's too bad. Canada's Casey Sharp wins the silver. Rachel Carker takes bronze in free ski halfpipe, which is snowboarding without a snowboard.
Exactly. This is for everybody that does French fries instead of pizzas. But yeah, no, it's nice to see them finish 2 and 3. The one who actually finished in first was Eileen Gu, who is the Americans competing for Team China. So
let's go over to pro sports and we'll go to baseball. It doesn't look like that season is going to start on time. Let's start with Dodgers. Trevor Bauer will not be criminally charged after his sexual assault allegations. I guess not enough evidence.
There was unfortunately insufficient evidence in this case to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. This stems from something that came out last summer about a San Diego woman with whom Bauer had a couple encounters with that turned physical. So there apparently wasn't enough evidence they felt to convict. So they're not going to be proceeding with that.
Justice has been served, no matter how you like it. Jury finds ex-Angels employee Eric Kay guilty of distributing drugs that killed Tyler Skaggs, a ball player.
Yeah, he was Tyler Skaggs was the pitcher for the Angels. He unfortunately suffered a drug overdose when the fentanyl-laced pills that he got from Eric Kay were found to be what had actually caused him. Now his case sentencing is reportedly scheduled for June 28th, with a minimum sentence of 20 years. Both charges of which he's been convicted are felonies. It only actually took a week for them to decide on this, so it seems like it's a pretty cut and dried case.
Yeah, sweeping MLB proposal leaves union underwhelmed.
Yeah, so this is the owners saying, "Hey, look, unfortunately, there isn't going to be a start to the season on time." The meeting apparently took under 15 minutes. So, whenever a meeting is that short, it's never going to go well. You're either getting fired or you're definitely not going to agree on anything that's being said. So now I know that previously MLB had proposed tiered minimum salaries starting at $615,000 and up to $700,000 for 2 and 3 years. They decided to bump it up a little bit, but apparently it wasn't enough. Another part of the proposal is actually not paying minor league players, which is not a good look by any stretch of the imagination. So,
not for a second.
you can't blame this on the players because they weren't the ones that imposed the lockout in the first place. It was the owners.
Not for a second. Jury finds ex-Angel employee Eric Kay guilty of Oh, that's that one. Sorry, I was looking at something else. I was getting ready for another story. It just reminded me of another one we didn't include. Sweeping Major League Baseball proposal leaves union underwhelmed.
Yep, we got that one.
Okay. And okay. Raptors, Gary Trent Jr. What a pickup this guy's turned into.
He's been absolutely fantastic. He dropped another 30 points in their win over the Wolves. This is just, going into the All-Star break this long weekend, I think Gary's earned his rest. This is something absolutely fantastic. Siakam actually added another 17 points and 8 rebounds. They've been firing on all cylinders recently, so that's fantastic.
Speaking of playoffs.
Yeah.
Now, here's one of these stories where a young girl would like to wrestle for high school, and her coach decided to opt for a forfeit instead of her competing.
So this athlete who has been remained unnamed to protect her privacy has actually been working out with the team and attended 90% of the workouts over the first month of the season. The coach, Michael Sprague, didn't see an issue with it, but the administration at the high school did. President Jeffrey Mancabelli and athletic director Dennis Hart told Sprague that co-ed participation could cause issues in other school sports and might negatively impact the program's ability to recruit alpha males.
Maybe they don't need alpha males.
Instead of having her compete in the 106-pound weight class, which St. John's has had to forfeit all season because it didn't have a wrestler to participate, they just said, we'll keep taking losses. So,
guys, we're not talking here about her displacing anybody either. It really is beyond the pale. It's way beyond. Okay. What's even scarier, I'll call it scarier because this is, again, the topic I was talking about earlier. This is the next story that we're, on top of what's going on with Russia, China. And now Phil Mickelson is willing to overlook Saudi crimes, abuses to reshape PGA. What's up with that?
This is one of those. He even confessed they're scary people to get involved with. He said they killed Jamal Khashoggi and have a horrible record on human rights. They execute people over there for being gay. Knowing all of this, why would I even consider it? It's because this is a once in a lifetime opportunity to reshape how the PGA operates. Now, a lot of the PGA players have distanced from this decision to try to get involved with the league.
By reshape, does he mean more money in the kitty?
That, I think, is what it really plays into.
Is it an extra, do golfers need an extra stop somewhere in the world?
I think part of his dissatisfaction is the fact that currently the PGA Tour is sitting on an almost $1 billion cash stockpile. And he's looking to try to leverage that money out of the PGA.
What, using Saudi?
Oh yeah, carrot and stick. You hold the threat of the Saudi defection for a whole bunch of golfers over their head, and the thinking is the PGA will loosen the purse strings.
If they go or if they don't go?
If they threaten to go, the hope is that the PGA will loosen the purse strings to release some of the $800 million that they're currently sitting on.
Okay, because this story, I didn't have word one about it. And I like the folks that are sitting at home watching this, I'm learning. Mm-hmm. So he's threatening to use them to ensure that golfers get paid more for what they're doing already.
Exactly. So here's the thing. The PGA Tour right now, they have a media rights deal. And players have very little control over their likenesses and how they're used in conjunction with the tour.
And their tour stops, the ones they make.
And also, the players don't own the rights to the digital assets of their own highlights. So if they want to post highlights of themselves playing golf on their own webpage, they can't do that. The PGA Tour owns the rights completely.
Okay. I'm not too sure that that's something I can't understand. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to think, you know why? Because I'm trying to think what athletes and on what website do they broadcast their own stuff? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, the thinking is if you want to have your own highlights, like me draining a 75-foot putt, and I want to sell that as an NFT,
Right.
as an athlete, I can't do that because the PGA Tour controls it.
Right.
That's
like the
technically
Olympics. Like the Olympics.
Exactly, but it's likeness rights that's really
Yeah.
there seems to be the concern here.
If I'm the guy that's generating the video and it's video of me, I should be able to use it is what you think, and I don't quite disagree. I'm not
And
sure I
and
agree. I just don't quite disagree.
as Mickelson sums it up, unless you have leverage, Monahan, who's the president apparently of the PGA, the commissioner, sorry, of the PGA, won't do what's right, and that Saudi money has finally given us leverage. I'm not sure I even want the Saudi league to succeed, but just the idea of players defecting from the PGA to this independent Saudi league is going to allow us to get things done with the tour.
Okay.
So
Still staying in. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Basically,
the plan is to hold the PGA hostage with the threat of the Saudi league in order to get what they want out of the PGA.
Well, it hasn't been a problem for Formula One to be there. In fact, our next story is about Formula One race director Michael Massey has been replaced.
Yeah, there was a lot of flack that that F1 faced, in particular after the finish of December's Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. After Latifi crashed out with 5 laps to go, Massey was pushing for a green-white checkered, just because he didn't want it to end under yellow. So they tried to get lapped cars from between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen for a 1-lap shootout, which they got. But a lot of purists were not a fan of more excitement. I think Mercedes put a considerable amount of pressure on F1 for them to release Massey in the first place, playing politics behind the scenes. They're one of the richest teams in F1. What they want is probably what they're going to get. So,
you know how I feel about Confederate flags, and apparently there was one flying or a couple flying in London, Ontario. Tell us the story.
So there was a house in London, Ontario that had the Confederate flag out front. A couple of folks that were involved with a local school board saw it. They mentioned that to a local news station. The local news station decided they were going to go out there and interview the folks who had the flag up. When they got there, they were told, the flag doesn't mean nothing. But shortly after the news crew left, the flag was taken down and the flagpole was removed.
I assume by the people who put it up there?
Yes.
Or somebody do it for them?
No.
It has no place. It's indefensible.
Yeah.
That flag is about racially motivated, politically driven hate.
Mm-hmm.
We have no room for that. Not in our world. Again, not in Canada, eh? Police make arrests as Ottawa blockade members defy orders to leave.
So the police started rolling in at about 8:30 this morning. They finally started to make a few arrests. Last night, Tamara Litch was taken into custody. She was one of the main fundraisers, as well as Chris Barber. And then this morning, Patrick King, one of the organizers on the ground in Ottawa directly, was taken into custody. I don't know if you were watching any video over the course of the day, but there were a lot of protesters that were building additional sandbanks around snowbanks around the trucks to make it more difficult to have them removed. Now, police have been moving in and slowly moving people around to get to where they want to be and to remove the trucks from Wellington in front of Parliament, but it's been a slow go.
Civil disobedience is one thing. Civil unrest is another, and breaking the law ultimately it ends up getting a reaction. from the people who want the law enforced because of where they are, the law is being broken. That's always lost in these things, is that we forget that the important thing to remember is there's peaceful protest. There's, like I said, civil disobedience, being about a bit of a troublemaker. But once you break the law, you can't do that. And freedom of speech doesn't mean you get to deny other people their freedoms to live. It's just unfortunate. It just everybody has a side in that one, and it's very contentious. And words like "they're going to rip our country apart" are used. Anti-restriction protests making life miserable for folks in Edmonton. They're experiencing it.
Yeah, no, even in the home province of most of these convoy people, they're starting to realize that it's not nearly as much fun as the videos from the road make it appear to be. And again, a lot of people tend to forget that, yeah, sure, you're protesting for freedom, but whose? Is it just yours, or is it everybody's? Because at the same time that these individuals are protesting for their freedoms, they're stifling the freedoms of others.
Yeah, now you've got in here the story of a Quebec man with fraudulent past, a prominent figure at Ottawa convoy protest.
Yeah, so there's an individual at the forefront. Her former contract, George Saman, is a prominent figure there. He's suckered a lot of people in Montreal out of a lot of money for
Was he
repairs
convicted?
because he's a contractor.
Was he convicted?
I'm just looking at what we've got here. I believe that he's been taken to court, but I don't think he's actually been. I mean, he has a history of fraudulent activity.
Well,
He pleaded guilty in 2009 to multiple counts of possession.
My point is, Aaron, is that I want to make sure people hear this, and not everybody, not everyone in that convoy, the Ottawa convoy, any convoy that's going on, not everybody's a criminal. Not everybody's committing a criminal act. Not everybody's breaking the law. Not everybody's doing things to irritate people. Unfortunately, socially, emotionally, it starts to be like found in, if you know that term. You're found in a situation that maybe you would have been better served to not be there. But then nobody should be asked to give away their free speech rights and the right to demonstrate. So I just want to make sure that we're talking about individuals. This doesn't speak to everybody. I think it's time for us to tampen down the rhetoric and the anger and stuff. And I'm very disappointed with the federal government taking it to the extreme that they have. Freeland defends arrests of protesters. What you want to say now, you can say in this part.
Well, I do want to say, unfortunately, it did not seem like the province in which the city of Ottawa is located, nor the city of Ottawa in which the protest is located, seemed to be able to do anything about what was happening in the streets. It seemed like a necessary step for Trudeau to finally go around them, as it were, to try to get something done, because they seemed to be trying to make this protest his problem, which they've succeeded admirably in doing so. So the
word was that the police weren't doing their job.
Yeah, which is why slowly the chief of police in Ottawa quit. He resigned in disgrace because of his actions or inaction. Now, the dream of conservatives is to put all of this at Trudeau's feet. And they've succeeded at doing that because he invoked the Emergency Measures Act. Now, the Emergency Measures Act doesn't take away any of your freedoms, folks, unless you're breaking the law.
Yeah, but still, it is it doesn't look either good. It's an act that needs confirmation from the two houses, and he shut down the houses. He closed them. So to give them and they have to, what is it, about a week or something? They have to vote on it within 7 days or something like that. No, I don't agree with what they're doing there, and I think we should also, we have a lot of opinions here, and I don't have a right to give my opinion. In some ways, I don't have a right to give my opinion, but in other ways, I feel I do. Freedom of speech being what it is, and sometimes I find myself in the position where I always hope that on this show, as much as I can, as much as you can, we hold a mirror to what we say, because sometimes it just seems like, it isn't about because the liberals did it, they're right, because the conservatives did it, they're wrong. I think this situation, this silly situation that's going on. I call it silly. That's not even the right kind of word to use. It's a terrible situation that's inconveniencing a lot of people and causing a lot of grief among families, friends. A lot of what we saw in the United States and continues to go in the United States, we have to do something to turn down the heat a little bit. I just wish that happens. That's what I'm looking for. You know, um, yeah, I guess it is what it is. Local government says it will turn to the courts to stop barge recycling business, and we're talking about communities that are concerned.
Yeah, so this is one of those environmental issues out in BC that we're looking at here. Specifically, the Comox Valley Regional District on Vancouver Island says they're seeking an interim injunction against a company operating in Union Bay. Now, the company is contravening bylaws as it dismantles barges for recycling them. The Comox First Nation and some residents have expressed concern that hazardous materials could be released as the barges are taken apart. Deepwater Recovery says it's zoned for industrial marine activity, and that's exactly what it's doing. But the concern is, the
Their
residents are
environment,
concerned about breaking ships in Bayne Sound.
right? And they live off the environment, so the pristine nature of the environment is
Mhm.
conducive to their lifestyle, and they
Now,
have a legitimate beef.
the important thing to remember is these barges are dismantled on a sealed asphalt surface. And the barges themselves are basically just big square steel boxes that
Yep.
don't contain any hazardous materials. They've never taken apart any motorized vehicles there in the 100 years that particular recycling yard has been operating. But the district Comox district informed the business that they could apply for a temporary permit. Because it's a rural area, it's not actually governed by a municipality, so there's no requirement for business licenses. So it didn't need to submit anything for approval, but apparently
Well,
it's now
I
become an
think
issue.
I think our First Nations have been abused enough that we should at least
Yeah,
listen to them, right? Uh,
almost definitely.
just listen to them and see what they're saying, and make sure that they have a look. Anyway, yeah, you and I agree on that. I know we do. So I'm just repeating myself, or you'll just repeat what I said. Their feelings need to be respected. The Law Society, the University of Alberta academic staff enter formal mediation after negotiations stall. So schools are going to stop once the pandemic's over.
Yeah. Basically, what we're looking at here is sweeping cuts to post-secondary spending by the provincial government have basically contributed to a lot of labor unrest amongst academic staff. They're working to remediate that and to try to get them back to work and restore, hopefully, some of the funding. So,
Cut the students a break. Law Society
yeah.
of Alberta investigating Tyler Shandro's conduct while health minister, and I'm assuming provincial health minister.
Yes. So there was a lot of outcry as to the decisions that Chandra was making while he was a health minister there. They're looking to actually see if any of his decisions breached his code of conduct. So in particular, they're looking at complaints about verbal abuse, from Tyler Chandra towards individuals in the medical community while he was Minister of Health. So that's what they're looking at too.
A blizzard warning spans southern Manitoba. Travel not advised. We've seen a lot of that here too.
Yeah, no, they're looking at a lot of snow and a lot of wind. Parts of Winnipeg have already received over 14 inches so far. That's double the average amount of snowfall for the month of February, which is typically only about 6 inches. There's also an extreme cold warning, and whiteout conditions are currently predicted as being on the way.
Absolutely. Well, let's go over to U.S. news. And central to U.S. news, it seems, even after he leaves the presidency, is Donald Trump, and his legal woes are getting more woeful.
Yeah, so a New York judge ruled Thursday that Trump must sit for a deposition in Letitia James's investigation. She is the Attorney General of New York. His lawyers were so upset about this during the court proceedings that the judge actually had to put them in timeout. Not kidding. She's investigating. Letitia James, is investigating whether the Trump organization broke state laws in its business dealings. So, I mean, we already know he's not allowed to run a charity. We all know that he's not supposed to
And
be
his
able to
kids.
profit, or his kids. Yeah, especially not his kids. Good God. But as it stands,
Well, they're the it's all about tax evasion, and they're talking about this could become a RICO case. Once they get out of this part, when the legal one, it could become a RICO case. At the end of the day, what he does is when he needs a break in taxes, he minimizes the value of the property he has, and then when he's trying to get loans, which he has in the hundreds of millions of dollars, he raises the value. So, which is why his accounting firm can't confirm, verify his tax records.
no, it's the same with the changing heights of his office towers.
Yeah, it is. It is what it is. Another thing that came across, I told you I was looking up something, and I didn't
Yeah.
see in your thing, Kim Potter, the police officer who instead of pulling out a taser, pulled out a gun and killed Dante Wright. She was sentenced today, 16 months, and then subtract the 50 some odd, something 58 days. Um, the judge, I mentioned this today because this is um, this female police officer was so distraught in what she was saying. Um, I understand the distraught nature of what she did. And I don't question her sincerity. The thing that caught me, you expect that from a person who's about to be judged. The emotional nature of the judge and how the judge almost didn't make it to the end of everything that she had to do in her position. She came very close at the end. She was sniffling. I don't remember seeing her wipe her eyes, but I'm sure she was trying to close that book as quick as she could because I know the moment the cameras weren't on her, she would have grabbed the Kleenex. This is a heartfelt tragedy for the Dante Wright family. Dante Wright had a child, gone is the father. It's a brother, he's a son, obviously. What happened here is totally, and I only want to mention this because, you know, Aaron, how do you punish somebody who a judge determines didn't do what they did on purpose? And how do you how much do you punish them? Is there enough of a break for her, the person who did the wrong thing, accidental or otherwise? And then from the other perspective, the parents who lost a son, the child who lost a father, this is horrible, Aaron. This kind of stuff is horrible.
Yeah, and I mean, the judge did sort of describe the balancing act that she's had to do here because the evidence is undisputed.
Absolutely.
The man is dead. Officer Potter never intended to use her firearm. She really believed it was the taser. So, as it currently stands, the best that the judge can do for both the family and for Officer Potter would be 24 months less time served, or which works out to 16, and she'll be released in supervised release for the last 8 months of the sentence. So it's
She turned down the suggestion of 6 to 8 years. They
mhm.
have basically a code they go by, right? And she brought it down to 2 years, and then because of whatever. Okay. I wanted to talk about this Nuvaxovid. Oh boy, this is a COVID vaccine made in Canada, Aaron,
Yeah,
and it's not an mRNA vaccine. So some people who don't want that vaccine that we've talked about, the mRNA version, um, this one here is available.
yeah. Now, Dr. Supriya Sharma, who's the head of Health Canada, says the vaccine contains small pieces of viral proteins that have been selected for their ability to trigger immunity. Basically, this is like the old flu vaccines.
That's right.
It's a protein analog of the spike protein that will trigger a body's immune response to it. Everybody's so afraid about 5G
Yeah. And
yeah,
and
no,
also the fact that the research that was used and which gives religious folks a real concern about using this vaccine, those issues go away.
yeah. At this point here, here's the great thing, though. More than 84% of Canadians who are eligible are already fully vaccinated with the mRNA vaccines. So, as
It's
it
just a
turns
matter
out,
of another 14%.
yeah. And in this case here, Nuvaxovid is actually approved for adults, and it's 2 doses, 3 weeks apart. So, boom, boom, you're done. Get it over with. Clinical trials found that Nuvaxovid was 90% effective at preventing symptomatic COVID-19 and 100% effective at preventing severe disease. So that's an additional inducement for those individuals who don't like the idea of mRNA to go ahead and get their shots. Now, they signed a deal to produce Novavax's vaccine in Canada, and there's actually a plant that's operating out of Montreal, so it's relatively close.
Right. It's a homegrown vaccine that, it continues the tradition of Dr. Banning.
Exactly.
Thank you, Aaron. It's been a pleasure, buddy.
Hey, thanks for having me, Frank.
My pleasure. You belong here even more than I do. I'm Candid Frank Stanisci. Thank you for watching Candid Frank Live, airing Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish World Radio Network. For Candid Frank Live, other news, entertainment, and sports programming we offer, please check out spanglishworld.ca. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thanks for watching, everybody.